Bridgerton is Regency, isn't it? So even touching is kind of seen as
Yes.
almost inappropriate. But a lot of that was choreographed. It's romantic. They weren't kissing, but there was always like a
charge.
A charge. Great word. Yes, there was
Yes.
always that behind
Energy
it.
charge.
An energy and an intention behind what was coming. And it's a look, it's an eye, it's a very slight movement.
Eddie Slattery is a London-based, Glasgow-born TV, film and theatre choreographer. He specialises in ballroom, Latin, swing and salsa styles. His incredible work can be seen in Bridgerton, Matilda, Should It Come Dancing and Killing Eve, to name but a few. Please welcome Eddie Slattery. Eddie Slattery, welcome to Intimacy 360. I'm going to coupe chasse pas bourrée straight into this.
Yay, thanks for having me. Thank you, Ian.
You're more than welcome. Okay, obviously, with your fabulous back catalogue of your career, you've worked tremendously in partner work, and you're a specialist in that area. I'd love to know how you approach working with cast and dancers, like on day one, where they don't know each other. For instance, it's like on day one of a show, rehearsals, you're doing, your meet and greet in the morning, and then you're doing, your table read, and in the afternoon you jump straight into, if you're anything like me, you just say you're going to go, I'm going to start with the big production number.
Yeah.
You jump straight in. But a lot of the cast have only met that morning. How do you approach that, considering a lot of partner work in choreography can be intimate?
Yeah. So I think we're quite lucky in a way that a lot of people that are coming to us are already coming from professional training. So it's something they've been exposed to. It's not completely brand new. And they kind of, in the nicest possible way, know what they've signed up for. Especially if coming onto a job with me, they're like, oh, he's like the partner dancing guy. There's going to be lots of lifts and tricks and rolling each other around and lifting each other up. So yeah, I think it's very much people kind of know what they're signing up for. And also they've been exposed to it a million times before. So it's not a shock. But yeah, obviously I have worked with people who don't have as much partner dance experience, and they're a little bit like, what's going on? And I guess we're obviously just make it a really kind of fun space, make it a safe space, and just really take time with those people as well, and make sure they feel really kind of supported and stuff. So
do you do any reminds me going back to college in some ways, like you do some of the, warm-up games and stuff like that. Do you do any stuff that actually try and build up the team, or is it just like, your day one rehearsals, you've only got 2 weeks or 3 weeks and you've got 11 numbers to choreograph, and you're like, we're up against it.
I think so. It's been different on different jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of that's kind of led by the director. The director kind of says, I think this is a good way to do it. Let's do a bit of, who are you? Where are you from? Where did you train? If you're, tell us something silly or funny about yourself or whatever. So I think that's a nice way to do it. And then games, not so much, but I think even just introducing themselves. And then sometimes you find that people have worked with each other and we just come off a ship together, or we just came off a show together, whatever. And a lot of, as you know, in the industry, a lot of people know each other. It's quite small. The working industry is quite small. Yes. So normally people kind of know someone, or
they might have met at the audition. That happens a lot. You walk up and they go, I partnered you in the audition.
Absolutely. All of that.
Yeah,
all of that. So, I mean, it's kind of led by the director, but I think a lot of that can be quite nice. But as you say, sometimes we are against the clock. Yeah. And I'm like, I'd love to do that, but let's crack on because I've got 11 numbers to choreograph.
Yeah.
And
It is. It can be really, really tricky in that sense. And I think with partner work, innately can be very, very intimate regarding where you need to put your hands and placement of hands. And I think coming from, obviously, it's been a choreographer for 110 years.
111.
I know, getting old.
Does it look it though, right?
Oh,
Does it look it?
50 next year.
50?
50 next year.
35, he's at it. He's waking us up. He's waking us up.
I've been here a long time. And my process has changed in the sense that I'm definitely much more mindful now that when I'm setting partner work, and especially when I'm doing like a lift, maybe where I've got 5 people around one person and they're all doing one lift. Yeah. And also I check in, not just with the person who's being lifted, I do just go, okay, is it okay to place our hands here? I do little check-ins like that throughout the process. But also suddenly when you've got one person being lifted by 6 people, that's a lot of
energy and a lot of
hands, a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And like we say, we're not used to that apart from being when you're on the London Underground.
Right. Rush hour.
Yeah, when it's that really, there's a time and place, like on the London Underground, that people are going to be standing close to you, and that intimacy between you and somebody else is like your boundaries are crossed in some ways, because in normal life, you wouldn't allow somebody to come and sit next to you and be that place, and
No.
So
smelling someone's armpit. I don't know you.
But in that environment, we've all become used to that. So same as in dance, we sort of like, we come used to like a sense of being close to each other. The same as, I always say this, I don't think touch is a bad thing. And I think it's really important that, touch is a wonderful thing and we can use it for, we go for a massage, we go for a haircut.
Absolutely.
We use, and, it's been proven that touch is really, really good for like positive mental health. And that's why they do a lot of hand massages in old people's homes and things like this. So, like, I think it's really important that we, when we're working with partner work and we're working in these situations, that we don't shy away from touch, but we just approach it with like open, clear communication.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'd love to know, like, obviously you've spent your life, in Latin ballroom and all these incredible genres of dance. Growing up, right, I loved like all the old MGM musicals, loved all the big partner works and the big production numbers. And I think my love of the partner work in those sort of shows and musicals changed when I went and trained. I'd love to know what musicals or shows you watched growing up that you saw partner work and you went, wow.
Well, it's a very similar kind of timeline to you, actually. And when I was younger, because my grandparents loved, Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, Ginger Rogers. So they used to always have those old MGM musicals on, and I used to love that and think that was really beautiful. And it was, the romance of it and the storytelling is all really beautiful, right? And then as I got a little bit older, started being exposed to stuff like Dirty Dancing and being like, whoa, what is this? Like glyphs and
everybody
tricks
trying it.
Everybody. Even now, people.
And many disasters.
I mean, I have a wedding dance company as well.
Yes.
With my other half, who's also a professional
Plug
dancer.
Plug it.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Wedding Dance Company.
There you go. The Wedding Dance Company.
Yeah.
There you go.
So come to us. We're really fun. But people coming and they want to do the Dirty Dancing lift and they've got no dance experience and something. And sometimes they can because the guys are big and the partners are petite and they can do it. It's a pure strength thing. There's not a lot of technique involved in that. But as we know, it's totally technique.
Yes.
But Dirty Dancing and stuff like that totally excited me as a young man. I was like, wow, this is so cool. These guys, muscles and girls and they're lifting and tricks and I just thought like Patrick Swayze was such a legend, right?
Yeah.
What a cool guy.
Amazing. And Jennifer Grey was amazing.
Jennifer Grey, yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. You say you loved all that. I literally myself, I loved Seven Brides for Seven Brothers,
which is also epic and amazing.
Like Michael Kidd's choreography. Like I loved like the physicality. As a child, I come from a gymnastic background. Right. So I loved all the physicality, all the axe throwing and lifting. And also it was an innocence within the intimacy there in the sense that it was loads of guys trying to win the girl, but done in a really innocent way. But then I went to college and suddenly I got obviously deeply into Bob Fosse, as everybody does.
Yes.
And the sexualized, nuanced choreography. And Sweet Charity, Rich Man's Frug, all these wonderful choreography that is steeped in sexuality. And I suppose looking at Dirty Dancing, I mean, it's called Dirty Dancing
for a reason.
Yeah.
The dancing's not, necessarily romantic or innocent, is it? It's dirty dancing.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
really quite sexual and quite provocative.
Yeah, and this is a thing, as we know in the industry, sex does sell. It does, you know? And I think when done correctly and well, and it can be brilliant, with
class and style.
Absolutely.
It doesn't need to be trashy. Sexy doesn't need to be trashy.
No, absolutely.
It can be done really cleverly and really, really well. Yeah,
for you, what's the most sensual, sexy style you choreograph?
It would be the Latin style, so it would be your cha-chas and your rumbas, because the cha-cha's the fun, flirty, sexy, cheeky dance, right?
And do you talk when you're actually choreographing that, do you talk about the actual intimacy behind the movement?
Absolutely, yeah. I need to try and give, at the end of the day, choreography is all storytelling, right?
Absolutely.
We're not just doing a lockstep and a check and a ronde. But why are we doing that?
Yeah, exactly.
It's because I'm flirting with my partner. I'm going to follow my partner. I'm going to give a little look. I'm going to do a little lockstep turning. My partner's going to follow me. We're going to then connect. She's like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Then she pushes him away, and then I follow her, and then we have a little flirt. Or it's a rumba, and it's romance, and it's very slow and it's romantic and it's sensual, and I'm looking after my partner, making sure her weight's in the correct place, collecting her and transferring her body weight from left to right, and we're moving in
Real
unison,
connection.
right? So it's real connection and storytelling through movement, not just moves for movement's sake, right? So yeah, a lot of it is definitely well, it has to be led by the story, or as I said, it's just steps for steps' sake, and that's what exams are for. That's that's what we do exam. That's what we do syllabus for. But at this level,
Yeah, of course.
we're now borrowing from that movement language, adding, like, putting it through our lens of what and of how we want to tell stories, and making it kind of interesting and exciting to the audience.
And when you're choreographing these sultry numbers, do you check in with your cast, your partners who are dancing, like when you're doing lifts and placement, the hands have to go certain places? How do you naturally check in? Or do you set boundaries at the beginning? How do you work within boundaries of consent when you're working with two dancers like that?
I'm always very careful and clear with them to say that this is collaborative.
Okay.
I'll give you a skeleton of movement, and I'll give you, I think this is a nice lean, I think this is a nice lift. What do you naturally, because a lot of people tend to have things that they've done before and they feel comfortable doing, like especially the leaders, that the boys will be like, I'm really confident with this lift or this lunge, or I really like doing this, and then we'll kind of make sure the follow or the girl, or could be a boy, it doesn't matter. I'll come to that.
I'm gonna,
whoever the lead and follow are. Yeah. So yeah, I always kind of check in with them, but also I'm just there to give them like a rough skeleton of what I would like to happen, but they also need to bring it to life. So I will check in with them, and I also want to do things that they feel comfortable doing. It's not, I really want you to do that because that's what I want. I'm not that.
Do you ever check in? Do you ever check in with then a dancer? Like, do you ever check in maybe with a dancer before you start on their own? Just say, is there any requirements you have before I start working with you? Have you ever done that? Have you just checked in and said?
Not with an end. Actually, that's something I really should start doing into my practice.
Because it's something very new. It's something I'm only putting it out there because this, I would never in my 110 years of choreographing, we just dive in. And obviously now working as an intimacy practitioner as well. And over the last few years, that's completely changed my process. And it's now, I'm so much more aware when I'm working with dancers that I go, oh, do you have any requirements? Is it anywhere that, just so I know beforehand, before I start, and I put them in a partner section. So I already know just to avoid that or to work around that. Absolutely. Or,
give them something different. You can all be doing slightly different things.
Absolutely.
That serve that person,
Absolutely. And sometimes for me, what actually I do love is when this is really a good one, when somebody gives me a requirement and I suddenly go, oh, I can't have like, they're doing the same kind of this duet and this duet the same now, and I was going to have them like mirroring each other. Yeah. And I go, oh, okay, and I go, but to be honest, it makes me think outside the box, and I usually end up with something much better. Because I haven't just gone into the the trick of the choreographic tool bag you pull out and you go, okay,
nice symmetry.
Yeah, you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. You go, actually, I need to rethink that, and you end up going, oh my god, that's much better.
It's a lot more exciting.
Sometimes, although it's sometimes you go, because you're up against it, you've got 11 numbers to choreograph and you've got 3 hours.
Changing my plan.
You know what I mean? But you can plan the plan, but you can't plan the outcome.
Absolutely.
So true.
Absolutely
and these moments when people go, okay, actually, I and also, like you say, now we have so many same-sex couples in the industry. Absolutely. Obviously, more recently, like in Strictly. Obviously, since I think 2020, we've had same-sex partnering in Strictly, and more recently, Leighton and Nikita.
Yeah.
And have you seen a huge difference in competitive? The competitive side of salsa, ballroom, and
the same sexing and ballroom and Latin's been around for years. So my old housemate, Tim, who's a really good friend of ours, was the head of the same sex committee for, I think it was international.
Wow.
And they travel all over the world competing, doing all these huge big dance competitions, but it was very much same sex. But on the last kind of 4 or 5 years, they are now allowing same sex competitors to now compete in Blackpool finals and all these huge ballroom and Latin competitions worldwide.
Yes.
Now lots of same-sex competitors are competing in those competitions.
So before, although they were avenues for same-sex partners or same-sex couples to perform. They weren't able to enter the big competitions.
No, it wasn't kind of commercially kind of not acceptable. I guess it's the old classic traditional.
This is it. Do you think Strictly's changed that since 2020, since they started having same-sex partners?
I think they've definitely changed it in the public's eye. I think it was already changing behind the scenes. I think the needle was moving.
Amazing.
Because of the Latin ballroom circuit that already existed. That people were very much pushing that lead and follow partnerships. Doesn't need to be, male and female. Same sex is really popular now, and that it shouldn't just be male and female traditional lead and follows. That we need to be totally open and accepting and let whoever wants to compete. That's very much happening.
And that leads me back to what we were discussing a moment ago about when we're choreographing. Naturally, depending on what partners you've got. I mean, I could have male and female dance partners and male dance partners and female dance partners, and actually, the you're going to get a different weight bearing from different people. Not necessarily saying the man's stronger than the lady. Not necessarily. Sometimes not the case at all.
Most of the time.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of times, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But it makes you really start when you're choreographing. Does it make you think when you're actually partnering a same-sex couple? Does it make you? Do you set who's leading, who's following, or do you naturally let them find that out of interest?
I would probably naturally let them find which role they want to take. But also the thing I love about the same-sex choreography is they can switch.
Yeah, which is
you
nice.
You can do a bit of lead. You can do a bit of lead, and then we'll do something, and then you can be a follow.
Yeah.
And then
Can you not do
switch
that
the
with
roles.
then a mixed couple?
Absolutely, you totally can.
Yeah, but not involved. But can you do that at competitive level?
People do.
Oh, okay.
People do. They'll switch halfway through.
Switching it up.
Yeah, you'll start as a lead,
God.
and then halfway through, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, they've switched. Now the leads become the follow.
Okay.
I think that's really interesting.
No,
to
I like
me,
that.
as a choreographer, I'm like, that's a lot more interesting than just the old traditional binary male-female system.
Absolutely.
Okay. It's like this is really nice. But it wouldn't happen. I've never seen it really happen in a traditional male-female partnership, but definitely in the same sex it happens a lot, and I always think that's really interesting because they can dance both tracks.
That's nice. That's really good.
Swing life.
Oh God, absolutely. It's interesting because obviously as a choreographer myself as well, throughout my career, the usual, I'd bash out, a salsa or a cha-cha, or whatever it may be. But I would never class myself as an expert, you have to be a jack of all trades and master of most when it comes to choreography. You have to okay, you're going one day, you want a show and you're doing a 60s number, you're doing a 20s, you're doing a 40, all these different things you have to do throughout your career. But I always admire somebody who's a real specialist, and I'm sure then would look at other people who've choreographed maybe a salsa or gone, oh, that's a complete bastardized version,
a rip-off. They've watched something on YouTube and tried to figure out what it is, and I see that often. And it makes, you go, I die a little bit inside. I'm like, if only they would have reached out to someone legit, bring them into the room for the day,
absolutely,
and let them allow you to structure it. Absolutely, doesn't take away from it's your choreography.
No, absolutely.
You're just borrowing the correct language of what the movement is instead of watching videos and going, oh, I like that shape. I see. The thing that baffles me the most and I find really interesting is you can tell people have watched Strictly and gone, like that shape, like that shape, like that shape, but don't realise that it doesn't live in the same dance. So they're giving me samba steps in a cha-cha or a paso doble in a rumba, and I'm going, it's not even in the same world of completely different things. That's when I can tell, and sometimes I just go,
or they start on the wrong count.
They start, oh gosh, 1 2 cha-cha-cha, 1 2 cha-cha-cha. I'm like, that's how you can tell. You see it a lot for sure. But,
looking back at partner work and the intimacy within partner work, have you ever came up across any situations where you've actually stepped back and go, okay, I need to try and navigate this, that maybe an intimacy moment within a partner section is not going as you thought he would, or have you ever had to do that?
I've been quite lucky. A lot of my experiences with the partner work has been really kind of positive. And again, I think that probably comes back to people are coming from training. They're used to it. This is kind of part and parcel of the gig. I know what I'm signing up for. I've definitely come across people that aren't as comfortable being lifted.
Yes.
Or doing some of I choreograph quite a lot of high flying, intricate,
Yes.
challenging lifts. So if you
Yes.
haven't done a lot of lifting, they're like, oh my gosh, I
Yes.
feel like I'm going to get dropped.
Yes.
So I've come across a lot of that, but I always make sure we have spotters and we're walking through each kind of each section of it. Like, let's get you to the shoulder.
Yeah.
Then you're going to go to you're going to cartwheel off. Don't worry, there's 3 people here.
Yeah.
We're going to catch you. You're never going to hit the floor. And also, a lot of the time, the leaders are they're experienced. I wouldn't give the guys that are inexperienced challenging, difficult lifts. I wouldn't give them the big lifts. It's like, have you lifted before? Yeah, I've been lifting for years and I can do this. So great, you're going to be my guy. It's doing the fancy lifts in this number.
Absolutely.
So I've definitely come across people that are afraid, which I totally understand. And I don't think lifts and tricks and partner work are taught a lot at colleges.
Not as much as they should be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I'm lucky that I teach it regularly at Arts Ed, performers at Lanes. I teach there weekly.
Yes.
Now doing ballroom, Latin, tango, Lindy Hop, swing, salsa, lifts and tricks.
Which is
amazing.
amazing.
A lot of it is weight bearing, balance, counterbalance, frame,
connection.
Connection.
Interesting with the lifts. I always have a saying that, and I always put this out there when I'm in rehearsals when doing lifts. I always turn around and say, safety over consent. And what I mean by that is I turn around and go, in the unlikely event that you're going to be dropped, would you rather be just, because you can't go, oh, I'm trying to navigate somebody falling.
I'm going to have to
catch
you where I can catch you. And it's not.
And of course,
no one's trying to touch you inappropriately, but I just don't want your head to hit the floor.
Agree.
And that happens.
And I always have
it's
this conversation saying, and everybody's like, oh no, I agree. Literally, I would much rather have
someone grabbing between the legs and
Yes.
then banging my head, because again, it's never from a bizarre, weird, inappropriate place.
Of course,
it's always a safety thing.
No, absolutely. And some lifts. This is the thing. Some lifts can't be executed safely without your hands being in a particular place or your weight being in a particular place or you're holding. And I would say when I'm in those situations, someone says, oh, I'm not comfortable being touched. I'm like, okay, I completely respect that. Sure. Just so, for the safest way for us to do that particular lift is to hold in there and there. So if you're not comfortable there, we need to change the lift. Yeah. I can't move the hand further down because the weight's going to be in the wrong place and you're not supported. Yeah. And they go, oh. And I go, no, that's absolutely fine. We can change the lift. Yeah. But just so you're aware that I'm now not changing the lift to, make them stand out. Yeah. I have no choice because I can't safely do the lift there that way.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's the same a lot of when you're working with learners and, you're, choreographing a show, that they've got to be aware that sometimes you can't execute the lift you want to safely by changing your hands any other place. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you say, it's the physics of it. Like the best way to lift you is I need to be under your thigh and I need to be on your hip because it's going up or it's going up and around. So the energy or the momentum of the body, the physics of it is this is where I need to hold you. Because if I'm here, your body ratio's off and actually you're going to be really heavy over here. And what needs to happen isn't going to happen on time.
Absolutely.
Or it's going to happen, but not safely. You're going to end up hitting the floor or your leg's not going to get around on time or whatever. You're going to kick your partner in the head. So, like we've all had.
Definitely. So for me, always safety over consent in that sense.
Absolutely.
I'd love to know, when you're choreographing, do you ever, obviously you work with a lot of genres that are very sultry, do you ever choreograph kissing? Or do you ever put in kisses into your choreography or coming in close lip to lip or moments of real intimacy or even like touch, like slow drags of fingers and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if the story requires
it,
of course. There's definitely been things like that. Well, it's a lot of like kind of teasing, isn't it?
Yes.
That like up the arms slowly, or just even caressing the face, or it's
or even like the lady's legs in between the gentleman's thighs, which
lots of that in kind of tango, Argentine tango styles. Exactly. Definitely stuff like that. On Bridgerton, it's Regency, isn't it? So even touching is kind of seen as almost inappropriate, but a lot of that was choreographed. It's romantic. They weren't kissing, but there was always like a
charge.
A charge, a great word. Yes, there was always that behind
energy
it,
charge.
an energy and an intention behind what was coming, and it's a look, it's an eye, it's a very slight movement. Just that.
I think
even
we have
walking,
a responsibility to just. I think we have as choreographers or movement directors or movement specialists, I think we have a responsibility. Although intimacy doesn't have to be sexual. Intimacy, you know, like you say, it can just be charged. You can have those moments, and I think we've got a responsibility to make people aware of that as well. Because, like we say, intimacy could be between a mother and a father. It could be on stage between a son and a daughter. Anything, you know. But like you say in Bridgerton, there's these moments of real come together, and there's this sense of wanting and longing and needing,
a lustful look,
but not allowed.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
not until we're married, dear.
Not till we're married, absolutely. So there's a different sense, and I think a lot of that comes from the use of breath.
Yes.
I think for me, when I'm working on moments of intimacy where there isn't touch and there's that longing and need, I really work with the use of breath. And really find that the moments where I can build up that charge just by using that.
And sometimes that can be the most effective thing. Instead of grabbing someone's leg and throwing it in the air and putting them in the splits, you're like, oh, that's cool. Is it, you know, what does that tell me? Exactly, what does that serve in the story? Other than we're having a good time. But sometimes the glancing look and the breath and the holding the breath and then moving into just a little, you know, even a hand touch.
Absolutely.
Or touching taking our waist.
Less is more.
Less is always more.
And I always agree, some things that are really under choreographed are hands. I always find when I watch choreography, big, you know, when you'll watch something, I mean, we've all done it. I remember looking my choreography 25 years ago. It's like trick, because I came from a gymnastic background.
You want to give
I'm
flash
like, I'm going to give them everything, everything, and
the kitchen
one
sink.
and then 2 and then 3 and then 4, and you go, and there's no need. Where was the breath? Where was the nuance? Where was the moments? Where was the storytelling? Where was those moments of connection?
The dynamic? Where's the slow?
Yeah,
and
the light and
fast?
shade, all these wonderful things. And they all apply to me now as when I'm choreographing intimacy. They're all the things I look at and going, why? I ask questions. Always. Why are we doing this? Why do we need to do this? What do we need to tell that story, and how is going to be the best way to get there, and ensuring we're working with boundaries of consent, and obviously all of that. I'd love to know, talking about me coming from a dance background, but obviously working as an intimate practitioner now, how do you see the role of an intimacy practitioner in the world of dance? How do you think my sort of role is going to change the world of dance going forward? Because it is a relatively new role, and it's very much in TV, film and theatre, which I predominantly work in. And it is filtering into dance a lot more now.
Absolutely.
But it's still early days. How do you feel that my role is going to change the world of dance in that sense?
I think it's just a really great conversation that we're all having now, that this is really important, and exactly what we've been talking about, the boundaries and the consent. There might have, you know, I'm sure in 10 years we'll look back and go, wow, we never even really thought about these things. We just grabbed a partner and threw them around and went, oh, let's have a good time and do a bit of this and a bit of that. And people never really thought about, how do you feel about that? You're kind of just expected to not feel.
Yes.
This is the gig. This is what you signed up for. You signed a contract.
Expected to not feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been told that my whole career as a performer. Just, you know,
I don't care what you feel like. Just do the job.
Just get on with it.
You're getting paid, so go and do that. And you're like,
it's an interesting thing when you realise.
Really positive.
Yeah, when you suddenly have a realisation that you have autonomy over your own body, and you go, oh. Really? Yeah. But I'm a dancer.
Yeah, I know.
What do you mean?
I get told what to do with my body.
What do I mean? I get to say what happens to my body.
It is. But I think these are really good conversations, and I think it is moving in a really good place, because we are creating a really safe space to create and work, and people are going to feel supported. We don't want people to not feel supported. We don't want them to be in our space and go, I didn't enjoy working on that job because I felt this way and I felt that way and didn't really care about how I felt, and they were touching me, and I just didn't really feel like they really kind of helped or supported me.
You're never going to get somebody's best work that way.
No.
Ever.
Never. And again, our job really is pulling the best out of the talent in the room, right? And also having it serve our vision and tell the story. But we don't get that unless everyone feels supported from our end. And that's our job as a choreographer. Intimacy, again, it's something we all need to be more aware of. It needs to be coming into choreographer. Like, we need to be having these conversations. We need to be getting the education that's going to make everyone feel more supported. Absolutely. And I think it's good because we don't have that knowledge yet, but you do. So to have people like you come into the room when we're dealing with, I mean, I've been lucky a lot, similar to, I guess, in your younger career, a lot of what I'm doing is flash. it's lifts and tricks and everything in the kitchen sink. I've worked in the things that aren't always that, but a lot of it is flash and tricks. Thanks to Strictly, people want to see people kicking their legs and doing flips and getting lifted around.
It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. And it serves a different thing, but that's not always what the industry is.
Yeah,
it's not always just flash and big musical theatre numbers. There's really dark things happening in theatre and lots of storytelling that could be about much darker narratives. It's not always just everyone's having a lovely time. The Disney product, not everything's Disney.
No.
Sometimes not sometimes.
Although we do love a bit of Disney as well.
I mean, it's the truth. I love a bit of Disney.
I love a bit of Disney. I love my
Come
Disney.
on, Disney.
I love my Disney. I love my Disney days.
Yeah. You worked for Disney for a long time.
I
didn't
did.
You?
I love my Disney days. But no. I think you're right. The approach, I think the dovetailing of intimacy within dance is something really, really important moving forward. And I think it really is. I mean, I'm very fortunate at the moment. I'm getting asked to lecture a lot of the top dance institutes in the UK, going in and lecturing about intimacy. But first and foremost, I'm going in and lecturing I'm lecturing working with the staff, the faculty.
Right.
Because, it's got to filter down.
Of course.
And also I'm getting to work with all the students as well, which is a really... I'm seeing a huge difference this year to last year, even 1 year later. Really? I'm getting asked in so many more places to go and work with faculty in dance institutions. So there's definitely change happening.
Even with me, with the partner dancing stuff. When I first moved to London 9 years ago, I was emailing all these colleges, partner dancing is so important, weight, balance, lift, tricks. Yeah, I don't have a budget for it, It's not that important. Over the last 4 or 5 years, my email box hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
They need to be learning partner work. They need to be learning ballroom. They need to be learning Latin, Regency, tango, salsa, lifts, tricks. I'm like,
yes,
I did tell you 9 years ago. But the conversation is moving forward. The needle is moving with regards to partner work, intimacy. I think we're learning more. We're learning that there's
a lot more open.
We're
a lot more open now. I think you're right. We're a lot more open. And on that, Eddie Slattery, thank you so much for coming on to Intimacy 360. I greatly appreciate you having here.
Thank you so much.
And have a lovely day.
And you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Yay. Thank you.
That was fun.
Yay. That was good. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, lovely people. Make sure you subscribe and like and press that notification bell to keep up to date with all future episodes.